never believed in ghosts or curses. I was a skeptical archaeologist, always seeking logical explanations for everything. But that changed when I was invited to a special excavation at the Pyramids of Giza. My name is Daniel, and this is the story of how my life turned upside down in the shadows of those ancient structures. I arrived in Egypt on a hot summer day. The air was heavy, and the sun scorched my skin. As the taxi weaved through the chaotic streets of Cairo, I saw the pyramids rising on the horizon. Even from a distance, they seemed imposing and mysterious. A shiver ran down my spine as if something was watching me. I shook my head, trying to dismiss this strange feeling. It was just the fatigue from the journey, I thought. The excavation camp was near the pyramids. When I arrived, I was greeted by Sarah, the team leader. She had an intense and worried look in her eyes. "Welcome, Daniel," she said, shaking my hand. "I hope you're ready for what we're going to find here." Little did I know that those words were a foreshadowing of the horror that was to come. On the first night, lying in my tent, I heard a strange sound coming from outside. It was like a whisper, but not in any language I knew. It seemed ancient, mysterious. I went out to investigate, but there was no one around. The stars shone in the dark sky, and the pyramids stood like silent giants. I returned to bed but couldn't sleep. I had the feeling that something was watching me from the shadows. The next day, we began the excavation. We were focused on an area near the base of the Great Pyramid. The scorching sun made sweat drip from our foreheads as we dug carefully. Then we found something strange. A small gold amulet buried deep in the sand. When I picked it up, it felt like an electric current ran through my body. Sarah looked at the object with a mix of fascination and fear. "This shouldn't be here," she murmured. "It's very ancient, very powerful." That night, I had a terrible nightmare. I was lost inside the pyramid, in dark corridors that seemed endless. I heard voices calling my name, but when I turned, I only saw shadows moving on the walls. I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding. The amulet I had left beside my bed seemed to glow in the dark. In the following days, strange things began to happen. Tools disappeared and reappeared in unlikely places. Some team members complained of nightmares similar to mine, and I started seeing things. Shadows moving when no one was around. Strange reflections on the polished surfaces of the equipment, showing faces that weren't there. One night, while working late cataloging some artifacts, I heard a noise from outside the tent. I went out to check and saw a hooded figure walking towards the pyramid. Curious and a bit scared, I decided to follow. As I approached the pyramid's entrance, the air grew colder and heavier. The figure vanished into the darkness, and I hesitated at the entrance. Something told me to go back, but my curiosity was stronger. I entered the pyramid, my flashlight illuminating the path ahead. The corridors were narrow and suffocating, filled with hieroglyphs that seemed to move in the shadows. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the sound of my footsteps and my heavy breathing. Suddenly, I heard a whisper, the same strange sound I had heard on the first night. I turned quickly, but there was no one there. My heart was beating so hard that I could hear it echoing off the ancient walls. Then I saw something that chilled my blood. A skeletal hand coming out of the wall as if trying to grab something. I recoiled in horror, stumbling and falling. My flashlight rolled away, leaving me in total darkness. Panic overtook me. I groped in the dark, desperate to find the exit. But every corridor seemed to lead to another, an endless maze of stone and darkness. The whispers grew louder, as if dozens of voices were speaking at once. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement, shadows forming, gaining substance. Figures with animal heads like the ancient Egyptian gods, but distorted and grotesque. I ran blindly, my heart pounding like a drum in my ears. I turned a corner and found myself in a larger chamber. In the center was a stone altar, and on it, shining with its own light, was the amulet we had found. I approached, feeling an irresistible pull. As soon as I touched the amulet, a wave of energy surged through my body. Visions flooded my mind. Ancient rituals, sacrifices, secrets buried for millennia. I saw the true history of the pyramids, not as tombs but as portals to something beyond human comprehension. The shadows closed in, their forms becoming more defined. Bright eyes stared at me from faces that were half human, half animal. Ancient voices spoke in my mind, demanding that I complete a ritual to open the portal so they could return. With the amulet in hand, I knew what I had to do. The words came to me as if I had known them for millennia. I began to recite the chant, my voice echoing in the chamber. The ground started to shake, and a bright light emanated from the altar. The shadows retreated, howling in a mixture of triumph and agony. The portal was opening, and I could feel the power flowing through me. But at the last moment, a clear thought cut through the fog in my mind. This was wrong. With all the willpower I had left, I threw the amulet on the ground and crushed it with my foot. A deafening scream filled the air, and the light intensified until I couldn't see anything. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying at the pyramid's entrance, the morning sun shining on my face. Sarah and the rest of the team were around me, looking worried. "Daniel, are you okay? We've been looking for you all night." I sat up, feeling disoriented and exhausted. I looked at my hands, expecting to see the amulet, but they were empty. Had it all been a dream? A delirium caused by the heat and exhaustion? But then I noticed something on my wrist. A small hieroglyph-shaped mark that hadn't been there before. And when I looked at the pyramid's entrance, I thought I saw a shadow moving, watching me. In the days that followed, I tried to convince myself it had all been a hallucination. I went back to work, determined to focus on science and logic. But at night, in my dreams, I still hear the whispers. I still see the shadows moving on the walls. And sometimes, when I look at the pyramids at sunset, I get the terrible feeling that they're watching me back. That whatever is inside is just waiting, patiently like the desert sands, for another chance to escape. I never told anyone what really happened that night. Who would believe me? But I carry the weight of that secret and the knowledge that there are things in this world beyond our understanding. The pyramids hold darker secrets than anyone can imagine, and sometimes at night, I still hear those ancient whispers calling me back. Now, years later, I still wake up in a cold sweat with the sensation of sand in my mouth and the echo of ancient voices in my ears. The mark on my wrist has never disappeared, a constant reminder that the line between our world and the unknown is thinner than we think. Sometimes, I find myself drawing strange symbols, hieroglyphs I didn't know before that night, and in moments of silence, I swear I hear the call of those entities, still trying to find a way into our world. I never returned to Egypt, but the pyramids haunt my dreams and thoughts. I know that one day I will have to go back to face what I left behind. Until then, I live with the knowledge that there are ancient and terrible forces asleep under the desert sands, waiting for the right moment to awaken. And you, dear reader, the next time you look at a picture of the pyramids or watch a documentary about ancient Egypt, remember, there is more to those millennial structures than stones and sand. There are secrets, there is power, and there are things that should remain buried forever. For some doors, once opened, can never be completely closed again.